More specifically, I think the the decision when we're talking about hiring an employee and the return on investment, we've covered those a little bit. But when you talk about a specific business, how does it, I guess, come to the point of is there a lot of paperwork that's involved with the actual having an apprentice come on? We've talked about the investment side of it. From the employer's standpoint, how much do they have to do when they bring on an apprentice?
Just a few signatures, to be honest with you. When the steps, how it works is if the employment agency is not involved through Employment Ontario and the employer hires their own individual through their own hiring process, the ministry representative will come in, and it's basically a one-page contract saying who the employer is, who the individual is, and they sign. And the employee is given a training book of competencies, which is the book that will last them for the 1, 2, 3, or 4 year term, the length, whatever the apprenticeable trade is. And basically it's broken down into job duties. So they could set a time for once a week or maybe once a month where the employer and the employee will sit down and say, yes, Joe is competent and can complete this task. And the employer just basically checkbox and initials. So that training book needs to be completed in order for the individual to do the final exam. So that's it in terms of paperwork is the employer's responsibility. The employee is the one that needs to submit hours worked or follow through when the request for training comes in from the Ministry of Training. Obviously he needs to discuss with his employer when he can leave to go to school. But no, that's it in terms of
the paperwork's pretty minimal then.
Yeah, and then the accounting
on
business does the rest for them at the end of the year for the
on the
tax
financial
credits.
side.
That's
It's,
right.
yeah, and it's important too. Really, the only step when it comes to the apprenticeship tax credits, the federal and the provincial, that are important to remember is just to maintain a record of the apprenticeship number, the registration number,
The training
and
agreement.
to have those. You know, the red trade seal documentation intact in your employee file, which you know, generally as a small business, as a business of any kind, you should have an employee file for each of your employees. So the paperwork is certainly not onerous. So last question, I guess, is